What is up, and welcome back to Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. As always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers. Going to do something a little bit different today, filling out my men's NCAA bracket. You're going to join me. I've got some notes. I'm going to talk myself out of making picks, reminisce about past March Madness legends, all that stuff. So let's get rolling. All right, we will be starting with Duke and Siena. This is quite obviously Duke moving on, but I do want to touch on Siena a bit. Their coach, Jerry McNamara, rumored to be headed back to his alma mater, Syracuse. He had that ridiculous run in the 2006 Big East tournament. Syracuse had to win it to make the tournament. They won 4 straight by 4 points or less. He was the tournament MVP. And he also, a couple years before that, won that national title on the Melo team. So him coaching Syracuse could, in theory, keep Cayenne Anthony there, even though he had a tough freshman season. This is Siena's first tournament appearance since 2010, when Fran McCaffrey was the coach. We're going to be talking about him way more than anyone should talk about Fran McCaffrey. But, okay, 8-9, Ohio State, TCU. This is the fourth time in the last 5 years that they have made the tournament. They've never done that before. Jamie Dixon is the coach. I remember his Pitt teams back in the day where it looked like they might win a national championship. They never did, but they were always good. You had DeJuan Blair, who had no ACLs. You had Sam Young, who looked incredibly old, ironically. His pump fake was a thing of beauty. I looked this up. Dixon actually played at TCU. I did not know that, so here he is. The Buckeyes, they're led by guard Bruce Thornton. He reminds me a lot of former LSU guard Marcus Thornton, so I had to look up if they were related. They don't appear to be related. Both smaller guards built like running backs who can score a lot, probably a little bit too short to be a shooting guard at the next level, at least as a starter, but seems like one of those third guards off the bench that can light it up. Great season. I think 20 points per game this year for Bruce Thornton. 8-9 is always a toss-up. I'm going Ohio State here. They've looked a little better recently. So we'll see. I could just come back and change this. 5-12 matchup. St. John's, Northern Iowa. Rick Pitino. He keeps doing this. I don't know how. He is a vampire, so that helps. St. John's won the Big East Conference tournament, which was a shock. The word on the street is they are underseeded. I don't know how much I buy into that. 12-5 upset, very popular. This is Northern Iowa's first tournament appearance in a decade. And they had the best scoring defense in the nation, allowing just 61 points a game. However, I'm going to go St. John's here. I don't feel great about it. That's how you know it's a good March Madness pick. You should never feel good about any of your picks. You should feel miserable the entire time you do this. So far, so good. Next up, 4-13, we got Kansas and California Baptist. This is Cal Baptist's first tournament appearance since they moved to Division I in 2018. They won their conference tournament on a missed alley-oop. Their top 4 scorers are seniors, led by Dominic Daniels, 23 points per game. He had 41 in the semifinals of the conference tournament and 47 in a game earlier this year. Kansas, really weird season. The Darren Peterson thing, will he play, won't he play? Crazy, talented player, but you do have to be on the court. And if he's got an injury, which they claim it's like the cramping issue or some sort of undisclosed undisclosed injury, don't you just have to sit out at that point and get ready for the draft? That doesn't really make sense to me. Checking himself out of games, I don't know. They are also one of the lower scoring top teams in the nation. I'm a big believer after watching Purdue do this, Virginia back in the day. I think that sets you up to get upset, especially since their defense isn't elite. Virginia back in the day under Tony Bennett, I don't know if their defense was necessarily elite, but they could pretend it was elite because they shortened the game so it was like 13 total possessions. Kansas under Bill Self, very boom or bust. This feels like a bust year. So I'm picking the California Baptist upset. Another popular upset pick. Actually, I don't think that one's popular. I think that is unique to me. So you're welcome. Another one that is popular. It's Louisville, number 6, number 11, South Florida. Louisville's coach, Pat Kelsey, he was the former College of Charleston coach, my hometown team. Made the tournament at all 3 schools he's been at, made it twice at all 3 schools he's been at. He started at Winthrop. This is his second season here. This is South Florida's first tournament appearance since 2012. It looked like they were headed here last year, but their coach, Amir Abdur-Rahim, he died right before the season started. He is a former College of Charleston assistant. I think that was under Doug Wojcik. Let's see. It is Brian Hodgson's first year here. Done a great job. 8th in the nation, scoring 88 points per game. 2 schools, they do it in similar fashion. A lot of scoring, a lot of different guys get involved in that scoring. South Florida would be the pick if I was going with my heart because of the Amir Abdur-Rahim thing. And I'm just going to do it because it's March Madness and we're making Disney movies out here. Next up, 3, Michigan State, 14, North Dakota State. The Spartans have made the tournament every non-COVID year under Tom Izzo since 1998. This is the Bison's first appearance out of the Summit League since 2019. Only thing I know about them after glancing at their roster, Thunder Dan Marley's son is on the team, which is cool. He doesn't play a lot, but still. Going Michigan State here, the real question, will Jeremy Fears kick someone in the balls again? Leading assist man in the nation and ball kicker. All right. 7 UCLA versus 10 Central Florida. Mick Cronin is UCLA's coach. He's quite possibly the most miserable man alive, which is saying something because we're going to talk about a couple of head coaches who fit that mold. That's an archetype within the men's basketball coaching community. I want to see him lose. I'm going to be honest. Their leading scorer, Tyler Bilodeau, he hurt his knee and missed the Big Ten tournament semifinal. He is cleared to play. He's supposed to play, but that is in my head. We just talk about Dan Marley's son, Max. Robert Ory's son, Christian, is on UCLA. They are talented. Donovan Dent, he is a good player. I know he's been a little banged up, but he is supposed to be healthy as well. 4th in the nation in assists, 7.6 assists per game. Sky Clark, a very fun player to watch when he gets hot. Let's see. UCF is in the Big 12. I have to remind myself of that all the time. Their first time in the tournament since 2019. Remember, they almost upset 1 seed Duke in the second round when Duke had Zion, RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish, and UCF had Coach Johnny Dawkins' son, former Duke player Johnny Dawkins. And they had his son Aubrey and the giant Taco Fall. This comes down to I cannot put myself in a position to need Mick Cronin to win a game and be happy, risk being happy. He would be miserable about it no matter what, but I can't pull for anything positive from Mick Cronin. So we're going to go UCF here. Speaking of these coaches, we've got 2 seed UConn, 15 seed Furman out of the SoCon. UConn coach Dan Hurley. What can I say about him that I haven't already said about Mick Cronin? Unfortunately for me, this isn't quite close enough of a matchup for me to pick the upset. Famously, on YouTube Shorts at least, my dog Kobe picked the 2023 Furman upset over Virginia. The reasoning behind that pick being that fur man is another term for dog. I would like to do that for myself, for Kobe, for Dan Hurley to be miserable. Furman's coach, Bob Ritchie, really good coach. I wish South Carolina Gamecocks would hire him, but they refused to make me happy. I just think the size and athleticism gap between the two teams is just too wide. I hope I'm wrong, but I fear I'm not. But they can still lose later. Don't worry. We got to keep that in focus. This is just round 1. So UConn over Furman. South region, we've got Florida taking on either Prairie View or Lehigh. Rocky start to the season for Florida. They've turned it around, though. They lead the nation in rebounds and rebounding margin because they're huge. Starting front line goes 6'9", 6'11", 6'11". Doesn't really matter who advances because neither team has the size. It's a 1-16 matchup. Tallest rotation player between the two teams is 6'9". Florida is just going to win. 8 Clemson versus 9 Iowa. These teams will combine to score 25 points. 3 straight tournament appearances for Brad Brownell, Clemson coach. He joins Oliver Purnell and Rick Barnes as the only Clemson coaches to do that. Hawkeyes returned to the tournament in their first season under Ben McCollum. Remember, the aforementioned Fran McCaffrey was here. McCollum brought Bennett Sturts with him from Drake. Sturts averaged 20 a game this year. The end of the season for both teams wasn't what they had hoped. Toss up here. All I need is a toss up to not pick Clemson, so I'm going to go Iowa. Then we've got number 5 seed Vandy versus 12 seed McNeese State out of the Southland. McNeese State did not skip a beat under new coach Bill Armstrong, even though they only returned 2 players from last year's tournament team. I'm interested to see if they can keep Larry Johnson. He was the Southland Rookie of the Year this year. He led them in scoring at 17.5 a game. Vandy, just too good. I do think they're underseeded. Not going to get your 5-12 upset here. Mark Byington, another former CFC assistant coach. He has them just 2 wins away from their program record of 28. That was set by Eddie Fogler's 92-93 squad, led by Bill McCaffrey. That is Christian McCaffrey's uncle. Let's see. Vandy puts up a ton of points, nearly 87 a game. They're led by sophomore Tyler Tanner. He puts up 19. That's just Byington's style when he was at James Madison and Georgia Southern. Really nice guy, too. When I was in between colleges, he let me come work out in the CFC weight room whenever I wanted. So that's enough personal bias to pull for him, but I do think they're a really good team. Then we have 4 seed Nebraska, 13 seed Troy. This is the first time in school history that Troy has made back-to-back tournament appearances. Is it time for Nebraska to make history? They're seeking to make it to the round of 32 for the first time. Troy hasn't won a tournament game either. I saw this before I started. This is like the first matchup between two teams that have not won a game in the tournament. I don't know ever, but at least since the 1980s. I do think that Nebraska does it this year. Finally, they won 20 in a row to start the season, finished 6-6. It happens. I think they're more talented than Troy. How far can they take this is the real question. We will see. 6 seed North Carolina, 11 seed VCU. VCU, sneaky good launching pad for coaches. Jeff Capel, Anthony Grant, Will Wade, Shaka Smart, Ryan Odom. Is Phil Martelli Jr. next? Remember, his dad was at St. Joe's when they had Jameer Nelson, Delonte West. They went undefeated until the conference tournament, I believe. Really good team. I think they made an Elite Eight run that year. I want to believe in the Tar Heels in spite of Hubert Davis. And I might, except Caleb Wilson is not playing, and he looked like Kevin Garnett before he got hurt. That's tough. I think that that's tough mentally on a team too, because you have this guy who's a star, and you start thinking Elite Eight, Final Four, possible national title run. I don't know if they were that good, but you start thinking like that, and then you lose that guy, and then it's like, kind of deflating. I think that showed up in how they finished the season some too. I'm picking VCU. I think they return to their Cinderella tournament darling status that they had back in the day. We got 3 Illinois and 14 Penn. Guess who coaches Penn? Fran McCaffrey. You thought you got rid of him? Not so fast. He gets the Quakers back to the tournament in his first season. They haven't been since 2018. TJ Power had that incredible conference tournament for them, 44 points and 14 rebounds in the title game, including the game-tying 3 to send it to overtime. He started his career at Duke, then he went to Virginia, and now Penn. That's a pretty good progression. Barely played at those other 2 schools. The issue with Penn, they are just a very good Ivy League team that got hot at the right time. Good. But Illinois is too good, unfortunately, because we have another coach who I don't like to pull for in Brad Underwood. Solid asshole coach matchup between him and McCaffrey. Maybe they'll fight at midcourt or get into like a Royal Rumble with the refs. I don't know. A lot of talent here. Freshman Keaton Wagler really came out of nowhere. I don't think anybody was expecting him to be this good. He is tall-ish, like 6'6", lanky and beige, which immediately, kind of just watching the way he plays too, doesn't rely a lot on athleticism. This reminds me of Kevin Martin. Played for the Kings, Rockets, Thunder. He came out of small school, Western Carolina. He might have led the nation in scoring there too. But that's who he reminds me of. And I don't know if their games are actually that similar or if I just think they look the same. But it happens. Illinois also has a lot of players from Serbia, Croatia, and Montenegro. They got 2 7-1 twins who they don't really get the ball to in the paint. And they have Peja Stojakovic's kid, who was born in Greece, in case you were keeping score. So Illinois here. 7 seed St. Mary's, 10 seed Texas A&M. St. Mary's out of the old WCC. We just talked about international players. That is St. Mary's to a T. They love Lithuanians and Australians there. They've won at least a split of the WCC regular season title 4 years in a row. That is insane because think about Gonzaga and the stranglehold they've had on that conference for 30 years now. 5 tournament appearances in a row for St. Mary's. Randy Bennett is their coach. That's the longest streak in school history. They had 3 appearances total before Bennett was hired in 2001. I forgot who A&M's coach was. It is Bucky McMillan. And this is his first season there. So maybe I didn't forget. Maybe I just never had the chance to learn. They score a lot of points, 88 points a game, 9th in the country. Very balanced attack. But against their better opponents, these are 2 teams that haven't really wowed you against. Like, they've beaten the teams they should beat, but they haven't really risen beyond that. So we're just going to go chalk here and pick St. Mary's. Then 2 seed Houston, 15 seed Idaho out of the Big Sky. First tournament appearance for the Vandals since 1990 when Kermit Davis was here. Kermit Davis is one of the most Republican senator looking coaches of all time. I'm going to pull him up. That's me. That's not Kermit Davis. This is Kermit Davis. That man is about to vote against everything that's going to give you a happy life. You hate to see it. So, go back here. All right, what else are we doing here? Idaho, Houston's going to win. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. But we will talk some about Idaho. So he's not their current coach. I got distracted because of how he looks. Their current coach is Alex Pribble. This is another one of those teams that just got hot late. You do want that going into the tournament, but they finished 7th in the Big Sky in the regular season. It was a top-heavy Big Sky and kind of a traffic jam. I do think they're closer to that than they are a Cinderella team. Houston's too talented. We'll talk about them more later. Moving on. We have got 1-seeded Arizona against Long Island. This is going to be Arizona for sure, but Long Island out of the NEC, first tournament appearance since 2018. Their head coach, Rod Strickland, one of the best point guards to never make an NBA All-Star team. This is his 4th season there. In year 1, he went 3-26. So great job, Rod Strickland. Arizona, unfortunately for them, is a national title contender. We'll talk about them more later. Then we've got 8-seed Villanova versus 9-seed Utah State out of the Mountain West. MJ Collins, South Carolina native, found a home in Utah after stops at Virginia Tech and Vandy. 17.5 points per game for him. Aggies are making their 4th straight tournament appearance. Kevin Willard, first season as coach at Nova, has them back in the tournament for the first time since Jay Wright left. Devin Askew is here. He was at Kentucky as a freshman back in 2020, 2021. 5 schools in 6 years. This game is going to be played on the West Coast, and Villanova is without freshman Matt Hodge, who was a solid contributor for them. He tore his ACL 2 weeks ago. I'm going to go Utah State. Then, 5-12 matchup. Wisconsin versus High Point out of the Big South. High Point, really fun team to watch. I watched that tournament. I'm going to try to talk myself into picking them because they are so fun. 90 points a game, 4th in the nation. Small school that made the tournament last year, lost their coach, most of their key contributors, but found their way back. They actually had a better season than last year. Their coach now, Flynn Clayman, quite the name. First 30-win season in school history, third in the nation in forcing turnovers, first in steals, top 5 in free throw attempts and makes, very aggressive on offense, get out in transition. Wisconsin takes and makes a lot of threes, and they don't turn the ball over. They're good. They just don't really stand out. They've run out the same team for what feels like decades now, outside of those Frank Kaminsky years. All right. Is High Point going to get calls on their drives? And are the threes going to fall for Wisconsin? This is a pick I will regret no matter what I do. Wisconsin has looked better as of late. So I'm going to pick them and I'm going to move on before I change my mind. All right. 4 seed Arkansas, 13 seed Hawaii. I cannot look at Hawaii basketball without thinking of former Charleston Low-Gators, Tess Whitlock and Carl English. Google them. This is their first appearance since 2016. That was Coach, I want to say, Aaron Ganot's first season on the job. Apologize if that's not how you say your name. He has had them trending in the right direction the last 5 seasons. Little hiccup last year. We'll forget about it. You're forgiven. Unfortunately for them, they take on the Razorbacks, who are hooping. They just won the SEC tournament. Star freshman, Darius Acuff, one of the most explosive scorers in the country. He joined Anthony Davis and Brandon Miller as the only players to win SEC Freshman and Player of the Year in the same season. That's crazy. Nobody did it before those guys. They've got this guy, Billy Richmond III, who I love his game. He was bleeding from the mouth. He got elbowed, and he was like waving off the trainers and catching alley-oops in the SEC title game. I've come around a lot on John Calipari too. He was supposed to be done, but this is the 4th school he's won the conference tournament at. They look really good. This is not an upset here. We're going Arkansas. And here's a fun one. 6th seed BYU and the 11th seed from the play-in game. It's going to be either Texas or North Carolina State. Like Acuff, AJ DeBansa is a very solid scorer, an explosive scorer. Averaged 25 a game to lead the nation. Going to be a top 3 pick in the NBA draft. Took it up a notch after they lost star Richie Saunders on Valentine's Day. That's important because as good as AJ has been, BYU has not looked good after losing Saunders. He actually was leading them in scoring for early on in the year, I'm pretty sure. So very important piece. I am kind of stunned that they still earned a 6th seed. Then at the 11 seeds, what has historically happened with the play-in 11 seeds, one of them makes a run. I don't know if it's like you're able to get all the jitters out of the way and you're in a rhythm by the time you show up for the first round. So then you surprise a team and the confidence is building. So you make it to the Sweet 16. I don't know what it is, but that's something to keep in mind. And it's interesting with these 2 teams because they haven't looked great ending the year. This is Will Wade's first season at North Carolina State. Inconsistent, but they did make the tournament. But they have been dragging ass the past couple of weeks. Similar story over at Texas. Sean Miller's first year there. They lost to Ole Miss in the SEC tournament, which is not good. So, Can DeBonsa carry BYU past this upset trap with his star power and scoring? Or can one of these teams shut him down and force someone else to do something, which hasn't gone great? Even when he's been great, I think he's averaged like 28 a game since Saunders went down. They still have dropped games. And these are all power conference opponents. I mean, Texas and North Carolina State. I like this better if it's North Carolina State and Will Wade and Quadir Copeland matching up with AJ. But I think either team can take him out. This is going to be my play-in 11 that does a thing. We'll see how it goes. All right. 3 seed Gonzaga. 14 seed Kennesaw State. First time Kennesaw State back in the tournament since the aforementioned late Amir Abdur-Rahim led them there in 2023. Current coach Antoine Petway took over after Abdur-Rahim left for USF. Some sports trivia here with Kennesaw State. Out of the Conference USA, we've got Darius Washington III. He is the son of Darius Washington Jr. Back in 2004. Sean Livingston and Sebastian Telfair were the only 2 high school senior point guards ranked ahead of him going into college. He played for Cal at Memphis, and in the 2005 Conference USA Championship game against Louisville, he got fouled on a 3-pointer, no time left, Memphis down 2. They needed to win the tournament to make the NCAA tournament. He made the first free throw, down by 1. What happens? Of course, he misses the next 2, collapses face down on the court. This is kind of where you look back at the tape and you think, maybe I've misjudged Coach Cal a bit, because he was the first one to run out there and pick him up off the ground. And he does seem like a used car salesman. I get that. But his players seem to love him. And he does seem to genuinely care about his players. And I think Memphis made it to the Elite 8 the following year with Washington Jr. Then he turned pro and went undrafted. But his son here for Kennesaw State, they won the Conference USA Championship, tournament championship, something his dad didn't do. He doesn't get a lot of playing time yet, but we'll keep an eye on him. Then you've got Ramon Seals. His dad, Ray, played in the NFL, took a really weird route to it. Never attended college. He played semi-pro football in his hometown of Syracuse, was really good. Someone was like, hey, you need to take a look at this guy. He's killing these UPS workers and whoever in this league. So he got to try out with the Bucks. Ended up making that team and was a starter on the Steelers team that went to the 95 Super Bowl. They lost to Dallas. I remember him being on the Panthers when he played, when I played Madden, like Madden 98. I think he was on the Panthers. Really good defensive tackle. Unfortunately, he died a year ago. But some sports trivia there for Kennesaw State. Fun team. Great season for them. Gonzaga is better, even if they aren't quite the Gonzaga we have come to know. I just mentioned St. Mary's split the regular season title with them. It kind of feels like we've got sick of Gonzaga. That's why I didn't say no and love. I wonder if we have Gonzaga fatigue from all of their great regular seasons where they couldn't quite get over the hump in the tournament. They got really close. And then on top of that, you had the Drew Timmy years where he would like rub his mustache after he made a great play. That could not have been good for them. They need to survive this first weekend without Braden Huff. He was their star player, averaging 18 a game, hurt his knee mid-January. He was rumored to have started jogging. Maybe it wasn't rumored. I think Mark Few might have said it. Started jogging during the conference tournament. To me, doesn't sound like a guy who's going to be back anytime soon. I don't think that matters in this round, but I do think that will matter moving forward. Then we've got 7 Miami versus 10 Missouri. Probably the most even matchup of the first round. A couple of power conference teams looking to reclaim their spot in the basketball landscape. Hurricanes finished 3rd in the ACC. This is Jai Lucas's first year as their coach. I remember him playing in college because I'm old. This is Missouri's 3rd tournament appearance in Dennis Gates' 4 seasons. The year they missed it, they went winless in the SEC. So that I don't know how that happens. And I'm a Gamecock fan, and I don't know how that happens. Even we won. Really weird. Just a blip on the radar. They're a good team. I'm going to go with them. They've been better against their good opponents than Miami has been. Mark Mitchell has been great down the stretch, their star. This is another one. Not super confident, but that's what these picks are all about. Again, you should feel terrible about your picks. Finishing up the region, 2-seed Purdue versus 15-seed Queens out of the Atlantic Sun. 4 seasons in Division I for Queens. That's in North Carolina. They've made their first tournament. They score a lot of points. They also give up a lot of points. They are, out of 361 teams in Division I, they are 349th in scoring defense. Purdue coming in really hot, shocked the world, or at least me, by winning the Big Ten tournament. A lot of experience. Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer have been playing here since Glenn Big Dog Robinson was here. So we're going Purdue. Moving on, Michigan, the 1 seed, will get picked over either UMBC or Howard. Very little bit of a regional matchup there in that playing game. Michigan coach Dusty May was a basket away from making the national title game at Florida Atlantic. Turns out you give him Michigan resources, he can put together one of the best teams in the nation. This is a title contender. The only real red flag, health. Backup point guard LJ Kaysen out for the year with a knee injury. Star player Yaxel Landeberg, who's kind of a weird guy, did something to his ankle in the Big Ten title game loss. So it's important for his sake. Kaysen, again, isn't coming back, but it's important that they run away with this one early so that they can rest their players and everyone gets healthy. Let's see if we got any. Okay, this is 3 or 4 years Howard has made the tournament. Kenneth Blakeney, great job there. Before he got here, they hadn't made the tournament since 1992. Last time UMBC was here, they pulled off the first 16-seed upset, beating Virginia. All right, 8-9 matchup. Georgia, St. Louis. This one is going to be fun. A lot of points should be scored, both top 11 in scoring. St. Louis shoots a lot of threes. They make 40% of their threes. They also move the ball well, get a lot of assists, led by viral sensation, Robbie Avila. Georgia, a little bit more 2-pointers, free throws to get their points. 3rd straight 21 season under Mike White. They seemed, after kind of a little bit of inconsistent play midseason, they seemed back on track before they were shocked by Ole Miss in the SEC tournament too. Cannon Catchings, Harvey Catchings' grandson, Tamika Catchings' nephew, I believe, has been playing out of his mind. All right. 8-9. How much does Georgia's athleticism and length bother St. Louis? Georgia was 2nd in the nation in block shots. So but they're going up against a 3-point shooting team. Is St. Louis hitting those threes? I think I'm going St. Louis in their 3-pointers here. All right, 5-12. Texas Tech and Akron. Okay, so the deal, let's start with Akron. 3 straight MAC tournament titles, all decided by a possession. Another high-scoring team, 88 a game, a lot of threes, a lot of assists, a lot of experience, 5 seniors. That means something for these smaller schools, I think. 3 straight NCAA tournament appearances for Texas Tech under Grant McCaslin. Elite 8 team last year. The issue, JT Toppin. He got hurt, out for the year, ACL, I believe. He's a star, 22-11. I don't know how you replace that. This is similar to what I was talking about with Caleb Wilson in North Carolina, where I think, like, even more than North Carolina, Texas Tech was a team that was like, we could win the national title this year, especially like that's the kind of player Toppin is. And they have a good team around him too. But without him, those hopes go away completely. And I think that affects teams mentally. I think that Akron, hungry, experienced, they've been here. I think they've been building towards their first non-play-in tournament win in program history, and I think they get it here. Then we've got 4-seed Alabama, 13-seed Hofstra. Hofstra out of the CAA, coached by Speedy Claxton. This is their first tournament appearance since Jay Wright was their coach back in 2001. Claxton was the star on the team that made it in 2000. And as much as I love him and what he's doing, I hate Bama coach Nate Oates. He is just, I've just never seen him talk where he was genuine and not entirely self-serving. His press conferences with the Charles Bediako thing, where he was trying to get a guy who had foregone his college eligibility to turn pro, and he was trying to get him eligible to play for Bama this year, were just terrible. Like, Nate Oates is awful. Seems like an awful guy. And really just one of those people who, if something benefits him, that is good enough. That's all the justification he needs. If the devil could give him 17-8, he would play him. He would not care. He is who everyone thinks Coach Cal is, in my opinion. And on top of this, they're going to be without their second leading scorer, Aiden Galloway, who managed to get arrested for a felony weed charge on Monday. Should weed be illegal? No, probably not. But this is just kind of the thing that happens in a Nate Oates program. We should be thankful that nobody was killed this time. I wish this was going to be an upset. Unfortunately, it will not be, so I have to pick Bama. But I don't have to pick them for long, so we'll see when I can get rid of them. Then we've got 6 Tennessee versus 11 Miami of Ohio or SMU. That's the other play-in. Miami of Ohio. A great season. They upset Bruce Pearl, which is even better. Also, Bruce Pearl, very similar to Nate Oates. Very funny. They coached in the state of Alabama. Bruce Pearl sucks, okay? Quit his job right before the season started, so they had no choice but to promote his son into the head coaching spot. His son, who before Bruce hired him as an assistant, was selling insurance or something. Then Auburn was a Final Four team last year, and this year his son leads them to a 17-16 record. And Bruce is all over TV crying about Miami of Ohio taking Auburn's spot in the tournament. And I wonder how he got a TV job, because he's not good on TV. I don't think he's good on TV, even outside of me hating him. And I think that there hasn't been enough pushback from journalists on his involvement covering the sport, and also what it means. There's always talk of expanding the tournament, which I disagree with. But if they expand it, are they expanding it just to put in more mediocre power conference teams? I think so. When I think if you expand it, it should be to get in some of these mid-major teams. Maybe mid-majors get an auto bid for winning the regular season and the conference tournament. And then you have a play-in between those teams that aren't as strong as like Miami of Ohio would still be, because they didn't win their conference, but they did win the regular season title. You have a play-in between those teams. And I just don't need to see any more mediocre power conference teams. We have enough of those. So, yeah, fuck Bruce Pearl. That's all I want to say. A great season from Miami of Ohio. 30 straight wins to start the year. They should absolutely be in. What are we doing? They are second in the nation in scoring, just under 91 points a game. SMU, who they're facing, is another high-scoring team. I like these matchups for the early round games, the playing games of teams that have the same style. Andy Enfield, the coach at SMU, that Florida Gulf Coast Sweet 16 run, that was fantastic. That was 2013. So, yeah, you know what his teams like to do. Jermaine O'Neal's son is on this team on SMU. Not a ton of minutes yet. I'm hoping Miami of Ohio is looking at all the talk and gathering bulletin board material. Not that I have anything against SMU, but I'm hoping they do that and can win the play-in game, because that's one of those programs that was their run in March when Wally Zerbiak was lighting people up, like, stands out to me as a run that helped kind of cultivate my love for March Madness, like Valparaiso or Weber State. So I'm hoping they're looking at this. They have plenty of bulletin board material and can win the play-in game. I think it means more for them to win the play-in than an ACC team like SMU. But then they have to face Tennessee, where Rick Barnes is the coach, and he loves the color orange, and also flopping in March. This goes back to like my memory of him being at Clemson. He had Greg Buckner, Harold Jameson, Terrell McIntyre, who was incredible, like 5'9", awesome point guard. And they underachieved. They had the one year where they ran into Bobby Jackson, Minnesota, and that was one of the most incredible tournament games I've ever seen. But Rick Barnes does love to overachieve. However, I think no matter which team they're facing here, they have a little bit more size, a little bit more experience, a little bit more talent. Even with Barnes' history, I think it's going to be hard for him to mess this one up. Jacoby Gillespie and Nate Ament, really good players. We'll go Tennessee here. Then we've got 3-seed Virginia, 14-seed Wright State out of the Horizon League. Wrote about this a couple of weeks ago in my newsletter. By the way, The shownotes.beehive.com still works. It was a lot. Beehive is not spelled in the correct way. I don't know why they did that. So instead of going to that, I've made it even easier. That still works, but you can go to brandonsilvers.com and get my weekly newsletter. Comes out on Thursday. Every sporting event you need to watch for the week comes out Thursday to get you set up for the weekend. It's free. A lot of little facts and stuff like what I'm saying here. And I put out a video on YouTube where I read it. And also a podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Many different ways to consume that, so subscribe to that. But yeah, this is not your older brother's Virginia team. Ryan Odom is the coach. He has them scoring almost 81 points a game, which would be like scoring 130 in a Tony Bennett scheme. I'm not sure if that's what I meant to say, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah, if Tony Bennett had scored 81 points with that team that he had, running the offense he had, that would be like a normal team scoring 130. Whatever. Great season for Wright State. Won the regular season and the conference tournament. They're undersized. They're the underdog. You have to be able to hit a lot of threes if you're going to give yourself a chance. That's not really their game. Virginia advances. 7 seed Kentucky versus 10 seed Santa Clara. This feels like a trap. You're going to give an underachieving Kentucky team a higher seed to bait us all into picking the other team. They have looked bad this season. The Mark Pope experiment has been a failure so far. They spent all this NIL money. The kids aren't producing at the level they should be. It was time for Cal to go, but it's got to be kind of tough to see what he's doing at Arkansas and here Kentucky looks like this. Then you've got Santa Clara. They're in their first tournament since Steve Nash was their point guard. That year, they pulled off the 10-7 upset. Herb Sendek is their coach. He coached at Arizona State, but I always think of him at North Carolina State in the late 90s, early 2000s. Matter of fact, I want to just go reminisce on those teams for a little bit while I think about how they are trying to trap me. Let's look at his first tournament team there. Herb Sendek, 2001, 2002. Anthony Grundy, rest in peace. Julius Hodge, incredible player. Archie Miller, Coach Archie Miller. Josh Powell, Marcus Melvin, okay. Ilyan Evtimov, Scooter Sherrill. These are big-time names. They beat Michigan State and lost to Connecticut that year. Man, Julius Hodge was hooping. 18-6, 3.5 assists. $18-6, 3.5 assists the next season. Let's see. 17, 6.5, and 5. I think he was running more point this year. Andrew Brackman. This name means something to me. Tony Bethel. I think he ended up going to Georgetown. Oh, he started at Georgetown and went to NC State. So yeah, Herb Sendek, way to go. So anyways, this feels like a trap. They're like want us to fall for this with the overachiever, pick the overachiever over the underachiever. And you know what? It worked. I'm going to do it. Santa Clara, you win. 2 seed Iowa State against Tennessee State. Picking Iowa State here. Great first year at Tennessee State for former Duke Blue Devil Nolan Smith. First tournament appearance since 1994. I don't know if this name means anything to you, but I can picture his basketball cards that I have. That year, they were led by a guy, Carlos Rogers. He was this tall, lanky guy. I think the Sonics drafted him early, mid-first round, but he didn't play for them. I think they traded him to the Warriors. And I think he played for the Raptors. I think they picked him in the expansion draft. And I have a memory of him on the Pacers too. We're gonna look at his page. Yeah, 6'11", 220, Tennessee State. Yeah, okay. Yep, Golden State, Toronto, Portland, Houston. Finished up with the Pacers. See what he was doing at Tennessee State. But I remember like he was the only guy whose card I had whose college was Tennessee State. Yeah, I mean, 24.5 points per game, 11.5 rebounds, 3 blocks as a senior. 11th overall pick in 94. Went ahead of Jalen Rose. That's really the only name of note. That was the Glenn Robinson draft. Teammate of Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. Jason Kidd. This is a good draft at the top. Grant Hill. See how easy it is to get off track? Let me see if I can find a picture of his basketball card. The one I'm thinking of. It's this one. And this one. Fleer. So. All right. Let's go back to the bracket. We are moving on to the second round. This is where things get tricky because I only make notes through the first round. And then I don't know what happens. We pray. So I'm going Duke over Ohio State here. St. John's, California Baptist. I'm going St. John's. Although I do have some questions about them, but we'll get to those later. South Florida, Michigan State, UConn, UCF, UConn, Florida over Iowa, Vandy over Nebraska. Two teams who have come up in terms of basketball, the basketball world recently. I think Vandy's a little more ready for this than Nebraska. VCU, Illinois. Oh, man. So, Illinois sometimes does some goofy stuff, but are they goofy enough to get upset here? It's a really good season for VCU. Regular season champ and tournament champion. Let's see. So let's go look at what VCU has done this year. So they lost, but they played NC State tough, within 15 of Vandy. Not great, but whatever. I don't think they are quite good enough to pull off this upset? St. Mary's, Houston. I think Houston is just too tough. Iowa State, Santa Clara. I love the thought of a Santa Clara run, but Iowa State is really good. Virginia, Tennessee. I mean, Rick Barnes, come on. Akron, Alabama. I've got to let that marinate and come back to it. Michigan, St. Louis. Going Michigan. Purdue, Missouri. Purdue. Gonzaga versus either Texas or NC State. I'm going to come back to that one as well. Wisconsin, Arkansas. I've gone Arkansas. Arizona. All right. Texas or NC State versus Gonzaga. This is terrible. Okay. Again, you got the Huff injury for Gonzaga. They beat Bama. They beat Creighton. But this is all with Braden Huff. Blown out against Michigan, but then drilled Kentucky. See, I don't think there's been quite enough pop from them here recently. But then I would say the same thing about, we talked about Texas and NC State, how they've been a little inconsistent here. You got Graham Ike and Grant Foster. I don't think Huff's going to be back. Whew. This is one of those picks where I want to pick the 11 seed. Just because I know 11 seeds make a run. And if a 3 seed is going to get upset, it would be Gonzaga. An 11 seed from the play-in is going to make a run. Let's do it. Which still leaves us with Akron and Alabama. Akron. So we've got, how have they done? Kept it with, they lost by 18 at Purdue. I think this is just my Nate Oates hate clouding my judgment, which is allowed. And they are losing a big piece with Holloway getting arrested. We haven't seen them without him. I think they have just a bit too much firepower for Akron. Let's see. Alabama leads the nation in scoring, just under 92 points a game. But Akron puts up points too, 88. I just think SEC athleticism versus MAC athleticism makes a difference. This is so tough because I hate them. All right. I'm just going to let the hate win. We're going Akron. Okay. Sweet 16. Duke, St. John's. Duke. Michigan State, UConn. This is that's a nice little one. Okay. Let's think about that and come back. I think Florida is just too big and too good at rebounding for Vandy. Unfortunately, Illinois, Houston. Houston is too tough defensively. And the kid Fleming's really good player for them, the freshman. Kingston Flemings. 16, 4, and 5 assists a game this year. Okay. Virginia, Iowa State. Iowa State. Akron, Michigan. I think the Akron hate run ends here. This is turning out to be a boring bracket, but that's what happened last year. Arizona, Arkansas. Arizona. I mean, you have to have, if we've picked them against Gonzaga, you got to have an 11 seed advance, right? Let's just get nuts. All right. Michigan State, UConn. My gut says UConn, even though I have my feelings about Danny Hurley. I have my feelings about Tom Izzo as well. I mean, UConn's just a really good team. Damn. I don't think any injuries. I lost to Arizona, but Arizona's good. Beat Illinois, beat Kansas more recently. St. John's really the only team that's given them trouble. And they did get a win in there, 32 points. Michigan State is good too, but just like the brand of basketball they play, like they got a bunch of guys who have their CDLs. That's what their team looks like to me. And then Fears, who's kicking everybody in the balls. So I think this will be UConn. Who else have I forgotten? Those are all my picks. Okay. So then Duke, UConn. This is where Duke is without, and let me double check this. Because they're missing players, Caleb Foster and Patrick Ngangba. They're supposed to be coming back. But I never know how much to believe that or what they're going to look like when they come back. And, I mean, Duke's looked really good this whole season. The Boozer twins are incredible. And I do hate Dan Hurley. Very funny. His brother, Bobby, who just got fired at Arizona State. Big time Duke legend, obviously. So, let's see. Very good defensively, UConn. 11th in the nation. These guys, a lot of experience. Just look at what they've done. Again, just really the best of the best have given them trouble in St. John's. But Duke, even better defensively and offensively. And let's see, only Texas Tech got them by a point when Toppin was playing. North Carolina got them by 3 with that crazy comeback and the buzzer beater. And they just ran through the ACC tournament. They beat Michigan. So I think we are going to have to pray. No, okay. Cam Boozer is their guy. Foster, Ngangba out. They'll be back. I think Malik Brown. No, other Malik Brown for Louisville is the other guy that's injured. So I think I'm going UConn here. I'm going to Arizona here. The Cinderella run ends for Texas or NC State. I don't even know why I picked this. I already regret it. Okay. Perfect. Florida versus Houston. Rematch of last year's national championship game. Teams look a lot different. I can't get over Florida's rebounding. I mean, they're just so good. Iowa State, Michigan. I really like Iowa State because they're similar to Duke. All these teams are elite at this point, but I like teams that can score and can defend. And that is what Iowa State does. Milan Momcilovic shoots a lot of threes. He makes half of them. I haven't seen that since Salim Stoudemire. A lot of experience. Let's see. They beat Purdue when Purdue was number 1. Beat Houston. Trouble with Arizona. That's the only thing. Who doesn't? Michigan. I love Dusty May. I don't like this Michigan team. Like, Cadeau has gotten a lot better shooting. I think like 38%, which is not anything I would have ever imagined when he was at North Carolina. Mara, big guy, huge, 7'3" or something ridiculous. Lindeborg, again, terrible at press conferences, but a good player, but banged up. They don't have Kaysen. I think McKinney is now the backup point guard. More of a 2 guard, though. I'm going Iowa State. Okay. Iowa State. Okay. So, the final 4. A 1 and a 2 on each side. UConn, Florida, Arizona, Iowa State. I think Arizona wins here. I think they are. We haven't talked about them a lot. So regular season champ, tournament champion. They had that ridiculous run to start the season, 23 in a row. They have losses by 4 points and by 3 points in overtime. And that's it. That's it. So, yeah. Braden Burry's their freshman. Bradley, Koa Pete. They got the big man from Lithuania. Bryce James, who's redshirting. I'm not sharing this. Yeah. Burry's, Bradley, Pete. Balanced attack. Can't really key off on one guy. They're better than Iowa State. They've beaten Iowa State. I know the saying about it's hard to beat a team X amount of times. And Iowa State got close the last game. Lost by 2 in the Big Ten tournament. That was a buzzer beater. I watched that game. So we're going Zona here. UConn and Florida. Oh, man. Why do I do this to myself? So here's my issue with Florida. Guard play. Specifically, Xavier Lee and Boogie Fland. Mostly Xavier Lee. But was supposed to be this dynamic guard from Princeton, but just doesn't have it. Like, he was good at Princeton, and he has gotten better at Florida as the season has gone along. Not a good decision maker. Doesn't really have the athleticism to get to the rim and finish like you would want to see. Can't really shoot it. These are problems. Boogie, who was at Arkansas, I mean, again, this is a guard that shoots 23%. This is why he gets so many fucking rebounds. 23% from 3. He has just not been good. Like, he has regressed from Arkansas. This is making me, God, what's going on here? I got cold feet about even picking him because these guys have been so bad. You know what? This is how making brackets goes. I'm picking Vandy here. I'm going back. Be Vandy versus Houston. And then I like Houston over Vandy. And then we have UConn and Houston instead. Which is crazy. This is why I have to start my brackets in early February. All right, let's take a look at what Houston's done. Just close losses, really. 13 to Kansas. I don't know what that was about. 5 to Arizona. I mean, Kelvin Sampson's teams defensively are always really good. I just can't trust a guard who is no good. And Florida has 2 of them. As big as they are. Houston doesn't turn the ball over. even better in conference play. Less than 7 turnovers a game. Sharp, experienced. Mercy Miller, Masterpiece son. I got a big. Okay. Whew. See, this is what it's all about. I tell you what. I think we get Houston again. I think we get a Big 12 national title game. Houston, Arizona. I think Arizona wins it. I think they will combine to score 147 points in the national championship game. Oh my gosh. That was awful. I don't know why I do this to myself. So there you go. Those are my picks. I'm going to be so upset immediately. I think last year, the first game I lost. This has been terrible. I hope you've enjoyed it. At least I like the history stuff. So that was fun. I'll do a women's bracket tomorrow. That my strategy for that is a little bit different. I will have some history and stuff too, but that one is a little bit more in my wheelhouse, which means I'll be even worse at picking. I feel like the more you think you know, the worse you are. So again, don't forget to head over to brandonsilvers.com or theshownotes.beehive.com. Sign up for my newsletter, screenshots, where you will get on Thursday morning the schedule for the week of sporting events you need to watch. Appreciate you watching, listening, rating, subscribing, reviewing, and sharing. That will do it. I will see you tomorrow with the women's bracket. Happy St. Patrick's Day.